you want to do, Wes?
We'll give him one of these too.
It's 5:30, April 13th, 2015. Starting the budget workshop. Phyllis, you want to take it?
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we're going to start with the State Street Aid Fund. In front of you, and up on the screen, you've got the revenue budget. Basically, the State Street Aid Fund consists of most of our fuel taxes, a little bit of interest, and any bond calls or insurance recoveries. This year, for 15-16, we're anticipating about $875,000 in fuel taxes and about $440 in interest. Looking at the expenses for 15-16, we're estimating about $310,000 for street lighting. $400,000 will cover paving. It will also cover about $50,000 for salt purchase, about $30,000 for sign parts, and with the balance of that going toward paving. And this also includes the paving for Martin Bend. We do have some debt service payments, $55,500, $28,874, $100,000, and $143,563. That's about it for the State Street Aid budget. If you have any questions. Anybody have any questions? State Street Aid? All right. We'll move on to the seniors. In front of you, you have the senior budget for the last few years, and forecast for this year, and of course the budget for next year. We're anticipating about $46,200 from a grant from Rutherford County, about $5,000 for senior citizens activities, $3,000 for contributions, $26,100 for the GNRC grant. Hoping to have about $8,000 in fundraisers, and we would like to request an increase for the transfer from general fund from $45,000 to $55,000 this year. As you all know, and we've talked about many times, the senior fund is, you can see it at the very bottom of the screen there where it says surplus or deficit, and any of those negative numbers means that the seniors are spending more than what they're taking in. In order for us to balance their budget, we're going to have to transfer an additional $10,000 next year. And it looks like we probably need to transfer an additional $10,000 this year. We did run in the negative at the end of the 13-14 year, and we have gotten a letter from the states saying that is unacceptable for us to close the year with negative balances. Even though the cash balance wasn't negative, according to all the accruals and all the expenses that we documented at the end of the year, it made us look like that we were going to run in the negative. And as you see, for 13-14, we had a deficit of $16,966. On the expense side, we have the wages that are actually paid out of Parks and Rec, but the $83,500 is to actually reimburse Parks and Rec for a portion of the wages. They've requested $1,000 for postage, $250 for printing stationery and envelopes, $7,000 for electricity, $500 for waters, $6,000 for natural gas, $1,500 for their Comcast expense, $3,000 for repair and maintenance service, $1,500 for repair and maintenance on the building, $300 for meals and entertainment, $1,200 for office supplies and materials, $500 for small items of equipment, operating supplies $1,500, food $11,000, janitorial supplies $800, fuel $4,000, bank service charges about $450, programs $5,000, the flower fund $800, and lunch fundraiser expense approximately $300. That's a total of $130,100 in expenses. And with the additional transfer from the general fund, we should be able to generate close to that 130,000 for next year. Any questions or comments on the seniors?
Actually, how many fundraisers do you do?
This year, we're planning on, I think we got 4 that are tentatively lined up. The issue with the senior center is it's doing really well. And Cassidy and Melissa and Linda are doing a great job down there, which is causing more people to come and join. Membership has gone up and up and up and up. And without trying to eliminate the way they do business down there and the things that they give the seniors, they give them like a continental breakfast when they get there, and it's only open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. But some of they go on a trip like once a week, but it's something like the Antioch to the movies or lunch or something like that, and we don't pay for that, they pay for that. But it's so good that people coming from Smyrna and everywhere else to join, and the more people you have, the more that it goes out, and it's on a small level, but it's consistent. So, I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we talked about it a while back about implementing some type of user fee, even if it was a small amount, it would make a difference, but nobody wants to do that. I don't want to do that. You know, I think the seniors should be allowed to come and enjoy what little bit there is there and not have to, you know, especially the Laverne citizens pay anything for it. But like Phyllis said, we're in a spot where we're going to have to do something somehow, you know, because I don't want to see anything happen down there, you know, negative. So, but we got another ball tournament lined up for that to do a fundraiser. I have spoken with Tim Tomlin. He's interested in donating to the senior center as well. And without putting a concrete number on it, it's going to be a couple thousand, 3,000 maybe. And that's going to help some. And then, you know, whatever we can get off the other couple of fundraisers. So it's.
If we were short 10,000 last year, we're gonna be short more than 10 this year, then next year. We need to look at some way to generate some extra money over there.
So I need to look at a couple different ways. So, but yeah, we're looking into that now. And as
In 4 or 5 more years, we're gonna be
yeah.
looking at maybe $30,000 in the hole.
Especially more people keep coming and joining, you know. So we'll look into it.
Any more questions?
If there's no more questions, we'll move on to stormwater. In our stormwater department, you have the budget in front of you in prior years' actuals. We're estimating about $1,500 in interest income for the residential stormwater fees that are billed through the utility department. We're estimating about $670,000. For the commercial industrial, we're estimating about $380,000. $18,000 in revenue associated with penalties. That gives us a total revenue of $1,069,500. On the expense side, we have wages. The only increase we did there was the incremental wage step increase. We're down through here. Not seeing a whole lot of other increases. We did take out the capital from last year, which is about $28,000. Whenever you take the revenue minus the expenses, or whatever we have left, we usually use for the ditch and drainage repair. And this year, that will probably go toward the Fergus Road Walmart site. That will generate us about $241,000 that we can use toward that project.
That's on 265.
Yes. The stormwater budget, the stormwater fund right now has about $3 million in it. You want to know what the balance is here?
What other main projects we got this year lined up for stormwater, Kyle?
That's basically the big one. We got several small things that we usually do out of the operating supplies budget, because it's usually matting and things like that. Because as far as the equipment, we've already got the equipment. So as of right now, we don't have a major drainage project besides the one Phyllis already mentioned, and that one's going to be roughly 175. So it takes up quite a bit of the 241 for this year.
If you don't have any other questions, we'll move on. We're going to move on to Capital Project Street. This is kind of small up on the screen, so you have your printout in front of you. We're estimating that we're going to generate about $75,000 in impact fees, road impact fees. We're going to transfer $400,000 from the general fund to Capital Project Streets. That's mainly to cover the TDOT payment. Going down to the expenses, we've got the near Schreiben Murfreesboro Road intersection improvement for $300,000. We've got the near Schreiben extension to roundabout Lake Forest at $1 million. Waldron Road, which is actually the TDOT payment, estimated payment toward the pay down that debt. And then we have $220,000 set aside for the Fergus Road improvement for Walmart. In our bond money that we received this year, we had borrowed $1.2 million for the near Schreiben project, and we have that notated in the forecast column. You'll see where we transfer that money from the general fund to Capital Project Streets, because when we received the bond money, it all went into general fund, so we had to transfer that money over. So we have also about $600 in bank service charges. So the total budget for Capital Project Streets is $1.9 million, and with the revenue from the bond and the transfers and the road impact, we should have enough to cover that. And to my knowledge, that's about all the street projects that we have right now going on.
Would use this time to jump back to Thursday night. That 400,000 that Phyllis, we spoke about it today. That was a number that I believe three of you kind of picked up, just threw out there. I think it's one of the ways that we could free up a little more money. Whether we say it's 300, we free up another 100,000. Because that number is in dispute right now, and it may wind up being 900,000, it may be less, maybe more. But the state is just looking to us to act in good faith and give them something. I would like to see that number drop and free up some more money for some of our projects. I think that's one of the ways we can do it. Just wanted to throw that out there. Because they're not requiring 400,000.
That's correct. That was just basically a number that we felt like that they would probably get close to asking us for, since we're going to spread it over 3 to 4 years. We're hoping that they will allow us the adjustment that we've asked for or requested in a couple of errors that we found in their overage. And if they do, we'll be able to, our lump sum that we will pay them will not be as big, but they did, kind of mention they would like to have it in 3 to 4 years. And when we broke it down, we felt like that 400,000 would get us within the 3 to 4 year range. but,
One thing.
it's not set in stone.
Yeah, one thing we really don't wanna do, we don't wanna go too short and have to make up a lot at the end.
Yeah. I mean, and, if we decide to change this, we'll just have to let them know whenever they do come toward us and ask us for an arrangement, payment arrangement, we'll just, we can just let them know that this is what was in the budget and we'll have to make it up the difference next year if the board decides to only make a $300,000 payment instead of a $400,000.
Again, I don't want to take up too much time with this, but I believe we've sent them a letter to the state's attorneys. We've not heard back from them. Might be one of the things that kind of sits out there and spins. It may give us a little wiggle room is what I'm saying. I'm not saying
Right.
don't give them something, but I believe we could free up some of the money that we need right there.
And we'll talk about the capital for general fund at the end, and then we'll look back at it and see if everybody agrees on that. Any other questions for capital projects, streets? If not, we'll move on to capital project parks. Right now, we only have one project that we are working on, that is the Hurricane Creek Greenway. We have set aside the funds for the city match portion, which is $387,000. The balance of that grant, which is $1.5 million, will come from the state. And we feel pretty comfortable. I think Kyle can explain a little bit about this project. I think it's getting close to getting started.
Pretty much hope the month get notice to proceed with construction, which would give us the notice that we can go ahead and advertise for bids, and then of course we'd open the bids up and bring them back in front of the council, and then if y'all vote to approve it, it would be contingent on TDOT's concurrence, so it would have to go back to TDOT. So we'd still be 3 or 4 months out with actual construction, but hopefully any day now we'll get the final go ahead.
And all the revenues that are generated by this department are a little bit of park impact fees and then any grant monies that we get. So this is not a heavy revenue generated department. If we don't have any further questions, we'll move on to water and sewer. The first page I want to show you is kind of a recap, and then we'll go department by department or within the water sewer fund and go over that. For the revenues, and I'll break those down in a little bit, we're anticipating $11,698,000 plus the tap fees of about $150,000. Expenses you can see for the water treatment plant around $2.5 million, sewer maintenance 3.9, water maintenance about 1.7, water billing $770,000, debt service $826, for a total $9.7 million in expenses. That right now that would leave us with a positive net result of $2 million. I have a little recap at the bottom of the sheet that shows how much cash or potential cash we have in this fund. We should start the year out, between the end of this year and with the $2 million added for next year, we have about $15 million in that account. We anticipate spending about $8 million for capital projects. That's about $6 million out of the bond fund and $2 million out of fund balance from this department. You have to add back depreciation because that's not a cash outflow. And then you also have to subtract out debt service because we don't actually budget for debt service. We do budget for the interest, but we don't actually budget for the debt service. That's just kind of a weird rule for managing the water sewer department. So at the end of next year, we anticipate having a bank balance somewhere in the neighborhood of $7.9 million. It's kind of a recap. Now I want to go through the actual revenues. We do receive rent from Sprint and Towerco. approximately 29,000 next year for Sprint, 20,000 for Tower Co. We anticipate our water sales to be approximately 4.764. That would include a 3% increase, and the mayor has asked that we not do the increase, and he would also like to reduce the rates another 2%. If we do that, we'll be taking down the revenues about $225,000 for the water. That would come off of that $2 million that we've seen on the previous page. We anticipate about $50,000 for hydrant rental, and $1,500 for water inspection, $20,000 for backflow device permits, $20,000 for the backflow device inspection, $2,500 for the permit fee for the backflow, $75,000 for disconnect fees, $110,000 for penalties, $80,000 for installation charges, $5,000 for miscellaneous, $6.3 million for sewer, and that the 6.3 does include a 6% increase. If we take out the 6% increase plus the 2% increase, we'll have to reduce that revenue by $480,000. Sewer inspection fees of $1,000. Forfeited discount penalties for sewer, $160,000. Scrap, recycling, $1,500, $8,000 in interest, and $10,000 in water meter charge. We anticipate receiving about $45,000 in tap fees and about $105,000 in sewer tap fees. $45,000 in water and $105,000 in sewer. So there's our total revenues of approximately $11.8 million. And the mayor has asked that we take that down, take the water rates and the sewer rates down, and that will take out, in order to do that, we'll have to reduce this revenue about $700,000. We'll come back and talk about that. We'll go ahead and go through all of the departments so that we can look at, first department is water treatment plant. The other wages on here are the allocations from our various departments, like HR and finance and admin, other general fund associated wages that are distributed to this department. We have about $5,000 in electricity, $4,000 for water, $4,500 for phones, $3,700 for audit services, $1.7 million for the Severn Trent contract, $75,000 for repair and maintenance, $10,000 for repair and maintenance building, $32,000 for water storage, $25,000 for chemicals, and this would be chemicals above and beyond what's not included in the Severn Trent in case they go over. $60,000 for insurance, $450,000 for depreciation, and $1,400 for the cell tower property tax. So it's about $2.5 million for the water treatment plant. Want to move on to the sewer department. We have, for the wages, we just have the incremental increase due to the wage increase. We haven't changed any of the other line items. When you get down to sewer, we did have a slight sewer decrease. It was about 10%, but that rate will go back up probably on the average of 3 to 4% halfway through our fiscal year. So what I did is I took the sewer fees that we pay to Metro and I calculated based on the $1.6 million that we're paying this year, took it down 10%, and then I added back half a year of the 3% increase. So that's a total expense of about $1.5 million. We have no change in the fuel, in natural gas, I'm sorry. And looks like the rest of the line items are basically the same. We did take out the capital that was budgeted for last year, so it brought our budget down to $3.9 million for sewer maintenance. We don't have any questions on that. We'll move on to the water maintenance side of it. On wages, we have our wage going down through here. We increased some membership, about $3,000 on the membership registration fees. We did increase the electricity. We have more pumps now, and that's creating some electricity increase. We did take the phones down a little bit. We left the audit service the same. We left the engineering services the same. Looks like most of the other line items are about the same. We did increase the repair parts to 2,000, and looks like the rest of it is about the same. We didn't do a whole lot of increasing, a little bit of increase in depreciation. We now have a budget of right at 1.687. There's no questions on that one. We'll move on to water billing. In water billing, you have your normal wages plus the increase. We have our allocation to stormwater, which is the portion of the billing that water billing, the utility department does for the stormwater fees and the reconciling of that. We have the allocation for other wages. Those are wages going back to finance and other departments. Okay. Other than that, we don't have, we did increase the 259 line, which is other professional services, by 5,000. That is our Arista, our third-party company that actually mails our bills out. And it looks like the rest of the line items we pretty much kept the same.
Do we figure on moving from meter readers out this year or the next year?
We have not built that in yet. We know that we're still going to be needing them for several months into the new year, but that should occur sometime during the year, but we did not adjust for that. The way that's going to happen is as soon as we get to a point where we feel comfortable that we can move some of those meter readers around, we'll look for openings in the water and sewer departments first. And you know, if we have any openings there, then we'll transition one person over. If we have other departments within the city that has an opening, we'll look to see if they can fulfill that opening. We can't create a new position, but if in the case where we have a vacancy, we can certainly fill that vacancy with an employee that's in this department. We still have a little bit of work to do. We're doing currently getting our list together of all of our industrial and commercial meters. We need to know what size they are and we need to know the locations where they are, so that when we get ready to do our bid, we'll have that information handy, and whoever wants to bid on that will have to probably basically go look at each site, because those meters, some of them are a little more complicated than others, so they'll need to look at those in order to give us a good price.
Where are we at on the meters? Are we, at one time, we was less than 1,000. Are we still going?
I spoke with Frank this morning, actually, and he said as far as our side on the utilities, water and sewer, we're completely done.
We're done with all the residential and all the
He said-
1-inch meters that you guys can swap out.
Yes, ma'am. And he said that there was a few miscellaneous ones, but water billing will be taking care of those because there were so few. So I'd say 98% done.
Yeah, I think we have in the neighborhood of 300 to 500 industrial and commercial meters that we will be working on getting those swapped out. We still have some training to do with the staff, getting them used to the AMR system and the computer, and going out in the field and bringing that information in, and how to download it and analyze it. And so we have a few more months that we'll need someone in to assist Frank with that, because he's done a really good job with the AMR system. But
It would be good if we had an opening so we could switch them right over. Ain't you got 2 vacancies there, Charlie? Are you planning on filling them pretty quick, or?
Yeah, they're out there now to be filled.
Okay.
yeah, I wish we were where we could release them, but we're not quite that far yet. We still got some more scrubbing to do and some more field work to do to,
I just hate to see Garland filled in positions
yeah.
now and then just a few days later. But I guess you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I'd say it would be later in the fall before we
Okay.
are fully comfortable with letting those guys transition into another department.
Have we heard from MTS about when we'll be getting the results of their study, the water rate study?
I have actually gotten 2 emails from him, one Friday and one today, where he's been having dialogue, going back and forth, asking questions. He was here Friday before last. Can't remember, maybe it's
It was the
Thursday.
Thursday before
Thursday
Good
before.
Friday.
Okay. And he got a lot done that day just by being here in the office. But then again, he's back in his office now and teaching more classes. So he gave us the indication that he would be done before we have first reading, I believe.
He's hoping to have some solid numbers or more solid numbers to us by, I think, the middle of May is what he's looking at. So it would actually be after the first reading of the budget. Depending on what the results of that study are, we could always implement those changes. It has to be done by ordinance. The first reading could be at the June meeting possibly, and then have a special meeting later in the month to have it still go into effect by July 1st. But, that's depending on him getting those numbers back to us by the middle of May.
Okay.
But that's what we're shooting for.
Phyllis, as far as the Arista goes, weren't we looking at one point on maybe trying to find someone else that could maybe do a few more things for us? Or, I know Severn Trent had offered it at one point in time to do some online stuff and some billing. With that number growing a little bit, do you think it's time maybe unless you all are totally happy with Arista?
Well, of course, Alice is not here and she could speak on this, but I know that she's really interested in looking for a better online system, a bill payment system where you can actually see your balance and see your history. We don't have that currently with Arista or the capability with local government, and pretty much to do what she visions doing, we would probably need to replace both our systems and our printing service. We had talked to Severn Trent and looked at their software, and we weren't real warm and fuzzy with it. It was a kind of a older looking system, but I'm sure it has newer capabilities, but it was more of a AS400 type system, and the report writing was very actually the report writing, you actually had to call to a help desk to get any kind of reports that you wanted, so we weren't real happy about that. There are other packages out there. We just haven't had the time to investigate and get some good feedback from some other vendors.
Bruce, what is the contract on Severn Trent? Is it up at 16? Is that the last year?
Not 100%. I think we just started the 3-year renewal, I'm thinking last year. It was either last year or it was this last February.
That'll be 7.
So we have at least 1 to 2 more years to go on it.
I couldn't remember if it was 16 or 17.
I think we're in our 2nd year right now of the 3-year.
Okay, this be 15, so it's up in 16.
It'd be up at the end of January 17, because it runs from February to January. So
Let me go back to the water treatment plant and see. I think we can probably.
I think it's up in January of 17.
Looks like we, during 13-14, we went with a new contract, and then of course 14-15 we're with a new contract. So 15-16 should be the 3rd year of that.
We'll double check on that.
There's no further questions on that. We'll move on to the last little department of the water sewer fund, which is the debt service portion of it. We have approximately $650,000 in interest on the bonded debt. $1,500 in service charges, and approximately $175,000 in bad debt. And our last piece to discuss will be the capital. And just want to talk about this one a little bit. On the screen, and I'm not sure how your sheet is showing, but anything you see in yellow there were projects that are being funded by the bond issue. We're kind of keeping that list a little bit separate from the rest of the list, just so that we can track the bond spending. We will have another $1.1 million in a couple of years on the 24-inch water line that was not included in the bond, so we've got to take that in consideration when we're looking at capital in a couple of years. For this year, the capital that was requested, there was about $50,000 put into this capital plan for repair and maintenance on the water treatment plant. As you know, in the past years, we've had lots of issues with the water treatment plant, and we want to make sure that we maintain that building and keep it in good shape. There's a request for the Public Works Specification Manual to be redone at a cost of about $10,000. We have the Smyrna connection that we have been talking about, approximately $500,000. For the water department, we have a request for a water valve exerciser and trailer, $65,000. We have the SCADA system for the water, it's $40,000. Quick attachment hoe ram, $6,000 for the water department. For the sewer department, we have a SCADA system at all the pump stations for approximately $120,000. A fire hydrant rental meter, $5,000. $300,000 for sewer for the Madison Square pump station. $800,000 for the lower East Hurricane Creek interceptor for sewer. $150,000 for the general sewer rehab. Request for a pickup truck, $30,000. Maintenance on the camera truck of about $5,000. A backhoe for $100,000, and a meter reader truck for $25,000. That is a total of $2.2 million in capital that has been requested. And as you know, when we looked at our total budget, what we were going to anticipate having left over is probably around $1.3 million if you take the reduction into consideration, because the rate reduction is a effect of about $700,000 out of that will need to be deducted from the $2 million. So we need to make a decision on which of the items in the capital plan we really want to go with. And we can certainly take money out of the fund balance to cover any of these, any of the overages on these projects. If we do that, we're talking about $800,000 or $900,000.
Probably what we need to do is get with Kyle and see what really needs, what's the most priority, what we need to do. I know out there on, we talked about, we definitely need to do that,
Yep. I can get with Mike and Kyle. We can go over this list, and unless you have something you want to discuss right now, if you.
A lot of these things, Mayor, has been budgeted for in the 10-year plan before I took over. So there's several things that was already budgeted for this 15-16 that can be moved. We just left them there, to bring to your attention, basically. But I mean, we can make some improvements here to save some money.
If that's what the board wants to do, then I can get with them and we can make the changes, and I can email the changes out to the board members in the next few days.
Council, I think if there's things that can be pushed back that are not a necessity, I understand. But push things back just to push them back, again, is what we're again, why we're fighting this problem right now. And I also think probably Ralph Cross will have a little bit to say about what we should be doing. So I think it's probably, maybe collectively, we come up with where we need to go. But I know we've gotten with the engineers, Bill Briggs, and I think CTI helped with some of this, and Kyle several times now. So I would hate to push stuff back and be 4 or 5 years into this and this not still get done. I think originally it was slated to get done in 2005, a lot of it anyway.
I don't think nobody wants to push anything back. We want to stay on stuff that needs,
Yes, sir, I was just
we want to
referring.
prioritize. We don't want to do something and then have to put something else off that we need.
Right, yes, sir, I
We
was
want to
referring
make
to
sure
the
we're doing what we
projects.
need to do.
Right, like the
Yeah.
backhoe, things like that, something of that. We just purchased a Cat, what, a couple years ago, or the John Deere, brand new John Deere, so we've got 2 backhoes. I was referring to equipment that could, the projects need to, and I'm sure Kyle will agree, most of them are pretty much gonna have to be done.
Are there any other examples you think I've just at a glance, not to put you on the
Ma'am.
spot? Are there any other items that you think right now are just probably not that imperative?
The general sewer rehab could probably go down
Yeah,
a little.
I think we had some of that already built into a line item anyway, so.
Yeah, it's, a lot of that was, we left in there because that lower east hurricane interceptor, that's got to be done.
And that's
and
got to be done there.
That number's, it is what it is, it's an estimate, and we've still got to get the property in alignment for that, and kind of, once TDEC reviews it and we kind of know the alignment, then we'll kind of know how much property is going to be affected and how much the property is going to cost on top of the project, so that numbers could go up, so,
And I think it's a safe bet to say it will go up.
yeah.
Because of what the requirements TDEC is going to make us do on that. It's going to be a big project.
And that's one thing that we've left in this budget. We need to do it this year, but with talking about acquiring property and everything, me and Dee's talking about today, we may or may not get to the actual full expense of the project until the end of the next, or this budget cycle and going into the next. So when that 800 gets spent, we've got it planned, and hopefully we'll get it spent this year because we need it done, but if acquiring the property takes a lot of time, then we may not spend the whole thing this cycle here.
And it may be another situation like with Walden Road where we have to condemn the easements or whatever in order to get the project started, because, I mean, we turned in a plan to Metro year and a half ago at this point, and we have to have that project done within 3 years. So time's ticking on that project to get it put in the ground. So we'll have to look, see what the state's going to require, and then we'll have to make a determination on how to, I mean, we'll try to acquire the property, obviously, without condemning it, but that would be the best option. But we don't know what the property owners want to ask for.
And I think on a couple of properties on Walden Road, I think we took it and, we had to condemn a couple of properties there.
That we're still dealing with.
And now, 5 years down the line, especially when you're doing a lot of commercial.
So with that, I guess I'm understanding that we are gonna discuss these items, me and Kyle and Deets, and then get back to the board.
Yeah, I think we need to prioritize, we definitely need to do as many as we can and put them in order and not have none left out that we need doing.
Okay.
Bruce, do we want to come back to this next week? And
Probably so, yeah. That'll give us a few days to recompile the list and everything.
let's- we'll do that then on the 21st. We'll meet back and see if we can streamline this or modify it somewhat. While we have the time, I'd like to go back to the general fund and look at the general fund capital. When we ended our conversation with the general fund at our last workshop, we had approximately $126,000 that we have, excuse me, we have about $923,000 in capital requests. After having conversations with Bruce and the mayor and various other ones, it was recommended a few of these to include and some of them to not include. I think several people were in agreement that we need the sonic wall, sure. We would like to have 2 police officers, but they will not be hired till January, so that's a half a year of 2 police officers, which is about $60,000. 1 police patrol car, so we're estimating about $45,000. And 2 trucks for parks. I believe there's been some conversation that a current park vehicle may go to the fire department, and then one of these trucks will replace that vehicle, and then you'll still, have 1 extra vehicle that we purchased.
And then we'll try to get another one in January. So partial 2 vehicles. He giving up 1, so if he still wants 3, so we're giving two now and then 1 in January.
Okay, I'll put it under, okay. So we're gonna give him 3, well, 1 truck's
That
going
means
to.
total.
Well, actually,
That's 3 for the year, 3 for the budget. So you're not really saving anything if you give the fire department a truck from Parks and Rec. Because you're still going to be buying 3 vehicles if you do it that way.
but y'all don't need that vehicle over at Parks. What we talked about is that truck could be better used at the fire department. I think everybody was in agreement on that.
The only other thing you and I spoke about was the van, the
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah.
And if it comes down to 2 vehicles, I'd rather have 1 pickup and 1 van because that would free up another truck if I have a van. Because that way you can keep all your stuff in it. It saves you running back and forth. The maintenance guys have it with them all the time, so.
Okay, you
So for $54,000, do we think we can purchase a truck and a van?
I don't know. I just will have to get with Felicia, I guess, to look at the, what we can get it on a, state bid,
State
whatever.
aid.
I got some pictures or some, kind of what we're looking for. Ain't nothing fancy, just something with some shelves in the back so that we can transport stuff safely. But they're using a truck now, so if we could get this, that would free up another truck too. So
Okay.
that would eliminate that need probably for that 3rd one. The two we got are just limping. I mean, they're.
Yeah, I've seen them
it's
tag.
all week. I think they've been here since you started here, on the board. They've been here a long time. Darling, they spend as much time over there with him as they do with us.
So just to clarify that, we're only looking at adding 2 vehicles to the Parks and Rec.
Okay.
1 truck and 1 van.
Mhm.
There was one other item,
Before you go further,
If we take that 1 vehicle from police impact fee,
you'll have
does
to.
that have to go, is that could have to be considered a part of general fund
No,
capital?
no.
Okay,
We
so
haven't,
that won't be a part of general
right,
fund capital
right.
then?
We're you're gonna get 1 vehicle out of general fund and 1 out of impact. Since we're hiring 2 officers.
So you got 4 now
Let's
that
just
have
do
been
the 1
hired.
out of impact fee.
Just 1
Just
out of
don't do
impact.
that, yeah.
We can certainly do that.
if we do that, pay for it out of police impact fee, we could add a third one then instead of have two. Police impact fee takes up to
Add a third what?
officer.
Oh.
Just saying, because that's not part of the
Well,
general.
now the officer is, the vehicle's a one-time purchase. The officer
Sure
wouldn't be
it
a
is.
one-time
Sure
purchase.
it is, but if you're looking at this year though, as to what you can do, that's more than a one-year salary that you're saving out of. Can't blame me for trying.
If we,
You ain't trying to say you're sneaky, are you?
No, no, I'm not. I was just pointing out that that doesn't come from general fund. Capital. Pay for it, police impact fee, which is separate department. It's not tax dollars.
okay, if we have $126,000, and if we only add the sonic wall, the 2 police officers, and the 2 trucks, that's $126,500, which is right at where we need to be.
Okay.
Now, I know that Bruce has some real deep concern about the web design, and that would be a $30,000 expense for the general fund, and it would be a $15,000 expense for water sewer, and a $5,000 expense for stormwater. It's up to you guys on that one.
Well, I've heard from different people about the web thing, and we need it. I like to try to get it if we could.
And what we could do on that one is we could reduce the amount that we put in HR for our lawsuits. We could reduce the amount of that to cover this expense for the web design.
You said 30, 15, and 5. Were you breaking that down, or is it going to be 50?
It's 50
It's
total.
50 altogether,
Okay.
total. 30, 15, and 5. Anybody else have any suggestions or any concerns about the capital items?
I've got a question to throw out there. Lynn, one of the things that we need is that ability to push data from CAD and RMS out there that we've talked about before on a regular basis, because that's coming with our new CAD and RMS. Part of our package is Bayer Analytics, which gives us the capability to push the website. We can't do that the way things are in today's world without us making a CAN package and shooting it over, and for the most part, Doug pushing it, if you follow what I'm saying. But if we could afford to pay for some of that out of police impact fee, that's technically equipment that could be built in as a part of this, could it not? And the work to push the crime data out, et cetera.
How much is that piece?
What?
The cost for that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it would be, but I'm just saying, Bill, utilize some of those dollars potentially if we can to help pay a portion of that, which will get us what we want to do is getting it out there on a regular, continual basis by it just
It
being
shows
set up
60.
and electronically
60.
automated.
We'll have to
Without
look
having
at
to
that. I'm
manipulate.
not sure how that would work with the company that we're looking at for the website design. I mean, I think they could pull it into the website design.
I'm just saying, when they designed the website, they use some of this packaging and some of those costs could be carried for. Get out here, Jerry. You gotta drive home. Just thought.
Right. It's
It's a
something
way
we
to
can look
help
at.
offset some of that.
It's something we'll have to look at. I'm not
Okay.
sure. We're still in the investigation stage on the website as far as who we'd like to go with that. So we're trying to determine capabilities versus, what we have now.
Just thought, those dollars are there and we've not touched them in 2 years, I guess, or.
We can certainly come back and do a budget amendment later in
Right.
the year if we
Yeah.
find out this is something that's gonna be worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because we need to redesign in the worst kind of way. And I don't think we can do it with what we got now, can we?
I'm not publishing the statistics.
Yeah, I'm publishing everything,
Crime map.
actually giving them that. I'll feed you.
Yeah, I mean, that should be a part of it. Doesn't New World have a module that,
Well, push it, but whatever's out there's gotta accept it.
well, that's.
And it's gotta be,
As long as we.
There's
I'm
some
saying let's
there's some
fix- let's
websites out
fix-
there that you can sign up for
let's
that will
fix
pull
the
that data
redesign.
into a mapping system essentially.
Let's fix it so the redesign, you follow me? Alright,
When you integrate that process with the new website, it may be actually save on some labor costs too. Because any data that you're manually entering into a
Oh, yeah.
spreadsheet or that's already in the system that can
Because
just be
that's all we can
populated
do
to the
now
right
is-
field.
manually manipulate it because of the need to get it there.
Right. And at
And
the
if we
same
could
time,
get-
anything you do manually, you have the chance of human error, where if it's just automatically populated through the system, then more, accurate information.
I need to get some JavaScript enforced.
One more thing I want to say, Phyllis, and forward, jumping back to what I said Thursday, just went home and did some numbers. Again, 2.5 cents, dropping from $1 to 97.5 is nice, and so on. We're scrapping for dollars here, and that's equivalent to $200,000, as I said Thursday. You have a home in Laverne and $150,000, it equates to 78 cents per month we're giving savings. I'm not saying every bit of savings doesn't count, but if we're going to, again, we're hurting here. No one's even mentioned codes. Codes has been asking for a second municipal officer for 4 or 5 years. The library is in need. Every department is in need of something. We're shaving off $200,000 to give residents at a $150,000 home 78 cents a month. That's all that equates to. So it's again, I dare to say if you polled residents that have looked at this and know the needs, they would give up that 78 cents to have another municipal codes officer, a few more police officers, whatever it takes. I mean, that's all this is doing. So we're shaving it a couple cents off to make it look like we've given a tax break, but it's not really, doesn't equate to much. So that's just my thoughts there. We're anywhere from $700,000 to $800,000 behind, and we're shaving off $200,000. It's not going to do about any good. $1, 78 cents, so on. I just think it's more money that we could use.
Well, being honest with you, I had my mind on it as a nickel, but I thought I'd be real nice and conservative, go 2.5 cents. And this year, maybe 2.5 cents next year.
Well, tell you what, I'll save up my 78 cents. You save up yours at the end of the year, maybe we can get a pizza. So that's all I'm trying to say. It doesn't make sense right now.
Just to recap the items that we have agreement on to add, the sonic wall for 12.5, 2 police officers at 60,000 for half a year, 2 trucks, well actually 1 truck and 1 van for Parks and Rec, and then the web design for 30,000 for general fund, 15 for water and sewer, and 5 for the stormwater fund. I will generate those new numbers. We have any other discussion? We do have one more item that I've been asked to bring back to the table, and that is the nonprofits. think we wanted to revisit, maybe something on that. Anybody has
When the
any?
budget started, I had my mind going with like Sparta, and I know we're not Sparta, but Sparta wiped out all that nonprofits. But I thought I'd give it one more year. But if it works good for Sparta, they wiped off all their nonprofit and had it all.
Yeah, I think they're mostly doing fundraisers and
You know,
going to
fundraisers.
businesses. And from what I understand, they have like mini task force, different people in the community and in the city that are assigned. If anybody requests a nonprofit, that they have to actually generate the funds outside of the city to contribute toward that nonprofit. I'm sure there's a few that they still keep in-house, but for the most part of it, he said that they have to be funded by fundraisers. Anybody have any suggestions or any changes they want on the nonprofits, or are we going to leave them like they are?
I'm going to speak up again, I think. I guess I should ask Fire Department, the Chief, Garland, and also Parks and Rec. We're shaving $10,000 off of Box 100. All the times they're out there with traffic control at our various events, I'm just wondering, you're going to shave that $10,000, but we're going to spend probably another $20,000 maybe in overtime. You're going to probably, Chief, you may have to call in some officers for traffic control. I've seen them at water main breaks. I've seen them at events. So we're going to shave off here, but we're probably going to cost the city some money. I don't think that's the right move to make. Also, I think we've all received emails from CAC, and they're requesting $10,000, and I think we're offering them $5,000. Phyllis, is that right?
I'm sorry, who was that?
CAC.
Child Advocacy Center.
Oh, the Child Advocacy, yeah. Yeah, they requested 10, and we have only put in 5,000.
What did we give them last year, fellas?
5,000.
I think we basically done everybody the same as last year.
I had asked last year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 75 and 5 is what we wound up doing last year.
I think so.
Because the state, as a result of federal reductions for child advocacy centers, has cut over the past 3 years. And they had been cut pretty much. And last year I'd asked for 75 because we have a lot of children here that we have to use Child Advocacy Center for forensic interviews. They have the trained people. We can't use just a regular detective, no matter how good an interview they are, because they don't have the specific special training to use with a child for child physical and sexual abuse. We have to be very careful, because if we don't do it in the absolute right way, then that child's interview can be shot right straight out the door of the courthouse and not used at all. That's the reason that I had asked for that last year. That's an important need.
I didn't pick
Especially
the
for our
picture, but I think the county's even done some different things too. So
They're requesting more from the county, from Smyrna, from Murfreesboro, and us as well, if I'm not mistaken. So.
If we have no more conversation, that's it for tonight for me. We've covered all of our departments.
So we need you to put anything on y'all gonna go back and we come back to next meeting.
Come back next meeting.
This
and
will be the
I'll-
last one, so.
Right, I'll have a
if-
final numbers for
If we
general
need to
fund.
tell Phyllis anything, we need to tell her now, because when we come back, this next meeting, the workshop is gonna be the last one. So, if we need any changes, we need to tell her now, to give her a chance to do some calculations. Tell her now, forever hold your peace. doesn't say it's over.